AITA for secretly tracking my wife's phone after she started working late with her gym trainer? I never thought I'd become the husband who tracks his wife's every move. But when Maria started spending 4 nights a week at the gym with her personal trainer, coming home with flushed cheeks and avoiding my touch, my trust turned to suspicion. The night I secretly installed tracking software on her phone, I discovered a truth that would either save our marriage or destroy it completely. It began subtly, like most things that eventually tear marriages apart. Maria had always been health conscious, but her interest in fitness transformed into an obsession after her 30th birthday. What started with morning jogs evolved into evening gym sessions, then personal training, until our life together became scheduled around her workout routine. "I've signed up with a personal trainer," she announced one evening, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "His name is Jake, and he comes highly recommended. He's going to help me get in the best shape of my life." I was happy for her initially. She seemed more confident, more vibrant. But as weeks turned into months, the 3-hour gym sessions became 4, then 5. She'd come home at 10 p.m., sometimes 11, smelling of sweat and shower gel, her skin flushed, her energy both exhausted and electric. "Jake says I'm making amazing progress," she'd tell me, checking her reflection in the microwave door. "He says I have incredible discipline." Meanwhile, our intimate life dwindled from weekly to monthly, then to nothing. When I tried to initiate closeness, she'd push me away gently. "I'm too sore from training, Mark. Jake really pushed me hard today." The excuses started piling up. Too tired, too sore, too stressed. Our bed became a place where we slept back to back, the space between us filled with unspoken questions and growing distance. One Tuesday, I surprised her by showing up at her gym with flowers after work. The receptionist told me Maria hadn't been there in over a month. "She and Jake usually train at the premium location across town," she said cheerfully. When I confronted Maria that night, her reaction was defensive. "We switched locations because the equipment is better there. Why are you checking up on me? Don't you trust me?" The question hung between us, heavy and unanswerable. Because the truth was, I didn't. The deception grew more elaborate. Maria started a new habit of errands before gym sessions, trips to stores that always seemed to be closed when I called, or visits to friends who hadn't seen her in months. Her phone, which used to sit casually on the kitchen counter, was now always with her, face down, as if guarding secrets. One evening, I noticed a charge on our credit card for a hotel downtown. "Business meeting ran late," Maria explained when I asked. "Some of us from the office needed a place to freshen up before the evening session." But her office was 20 minutes from that hotel, and she'd told me she was working from home that day. Then came the texts. She'd smile at her phone in a way she hadn't smiled at me in months, her fingers flying across the screen. When I walked into the room, she'd quickly lock it, the smile vanishing. "Who's making you so happy?" I asked one night, trying to sound casual. "Just the girls from my spin class," she said too quickly. "We're planning a weekend retreat." But when I casually mentioned a retreat to her friend Sarah the next day, she looked confused. "What retreat? Maria hasn't been to spin class in ages." She said she switched to personal training full-time. The pieces weren't just not fitting, they were from different puzzles entirely. My wife, the woman I'd built a life with for 8 years, was constructing an elaborate web of lies, and I was standing on the outside, watching our marriage unravel thread by thread. The breaking point came on our anniversary. I'd planned a romantic weekend getaway, the same cabin in the mountains where I'd proposed. I'd arranged for her parents to watch our dog, booked her favorite restaurant, even bought the expensive champagne she loved, but never let me splurge on. "I can't," she said when I told her. "Jake has me on a strict training schedule for the upcoming fitness competition. I can't miss my sessions." "On our anniversary weekend?" I asked, disbelief turning to anger. "You're choosing your trainer over our marriage." "It's not like that," she snapped. "This competition is important to me. Why can't you support my goals?" We had the biggest fight of our marriage that night. Accusations flew. I called her obsessed. She called me controlling. We slept in separate rooms for the first time. The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I ordered phone tracking software online, the kind that works in stealth mode, invisible to the user. As I clicked purchase, I felt a wave of self-loathing. What kind of man spies on his own wife? But the alternative, living with this constant doubt, watching my marriage disintegrate while pretending everything was fine, felt worse. When the software arrived, my hands shook as I installed it on her phone while she slept. It took less than 5 minutes. 5 minutes to potentially save or destroy 8 years of marriage. As I put her phone back on her nightstand, I looked at her sleeping face and wondered if I even knew the woman I was married to anymore. For the first week, the tracking data showed exactly what Maria had claimed: gym visits, grocery stores, the occasional coffee shop. I started to feel like the paranoid husband she probably thought I was. Then came Thursday night. According to the tracker, Maria wasn't at the gym. She was at an address in a residential area 40 minutes away. I pulled up the satellite view. It was a modest single-family home in a neighborhood I didn't recognize. My heart pounded as I drove there, my mind racing with possibilities. Was this Jake's house? Were they having an affair right now while I sat outside like some pathetic private investigator? I parked across the street, my hands gripping the steering wheel. The house looked ordinary. Lights on in the living room. A minivan in the driveway. Nothing suspicious. Then the front door opened, and Maria stepped out. But she wasn't alone. She was holding hands with a little girl, a child of about 6 with Maria's same dark hair and smile. A woman stood in the doorway, waving goodbye. My blood ran cold. The resemblance was unmistakable. This child looked exactly like Maria's childhood photos. Maria knelt, hugging the girl tightly, kissing her forehead before standing and wiping tears from her eyes. She got into her car and sat there for 10 minutes, just crying, before driving away. I sat in my car, stunned. Who was this child? Why did she look so much like my wife? And why had Maria never mentioned her? The tracking data over the next 2 weeks revealed a pattern. Every Tuesday and Thursday, Maria visited that house. Sometimes she'd go to a park with the woman and the child. Other times she'd stay at the house for hours. Meanwhile, our marriage continued its slow collapse. We moved through our days like actors in a play, speaking our lines but feeling nothing. The distance between us had become a chasm, and I was the only one who knew why. I finally confronted her on a rainy Thursday evening. She'd just returned from her gym session, her eyes slightly red-rimmed, her energy subdued. "We need to talk about the little girl," I said quietly. Her face went pale. "What little girl?" "The one you visit twice a week. The one who looks exactly like you. Her name is Lily, right?" The shock on her face was quickly replaced by anger. "You've been following me? Tracking your phone?" I admitted. After 6 months of lies, I needed to know the truth. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they weren't tears of anger. They were tears of relief mixed with grief. "Her name is Isabella," she whispered. "She's my daughter." The words hung in the air, sucking all the oxygen from the room. "Your daughter?" I managed to say. "But how? When?" The story tumbled out in broken pieces. Before we met, Maria had gotten pregnant at 19. Her deeply religious parents had forced her to give the baby up for adoption. She'd signed away her rights, thinking she'd never see her child again. But 6 months ago, the adoption agency had contacted her. Isabella's adoptive mother was dying of cancer and wanted to facilitate a relationship between Isabella and her birth mother before she passed. "Her name is Carol," Maria said, her voice trembling. "She's been sick for a year. She reached out because she wanted Isabella to know me before she's gone." The late nights, the secrecy, the emotional distance, it all made sense now. She'd been spending her evenings with a dying woman and the daughter she'd given up, trying to build a relationship in borrowed time. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked, my voice thick with emotion. "I was ashamed," she cried. "Ashamed of my past. Ashamed that I'd kept this from you all these years. And I was terrified you'd think less of me." We held each other that night for the first time in months, both crying for the pain we'd caused each other, for the secrets that had nearly destroyed us, for the second chance we'd almost lost. That was 6 months ago. Today, I'm writing this from the living room of the house where Maria visits Isabella. Carol passed away 3 months ago, and we're in the process of becoming Isabella's guardians. The road hasn't been easy. Trust, once broken, takes time to rebuild. Maria had to forgive my invasion of her privacy, and I had to forgive her secrecy. We're in couples therapy, learning to communicate honestly, to be vulnerable with each other in ways we never were before. Isabella calls me Uncle Mark for now. She's a bright, resilient little girl who's dealing with more loss than any child should have to bear. We see her 4 times a week now, and Maria's transformation has been beautiful to witness. The distance, the obsession with the gym, It was all a manifestation of the grief and guilt she was carrying. The tracking software is long deleted. Sometimes I still feel a twinge of shame when I remember those weeks of suspicion and surveillance. But that darkness led us to the truth, and the truth, however painfully uncovered, gave us a chance to heal. So I ask you, AITA for tracking my wife's phone when her behavior suggested she was having an affair? Was I a distrustful husband violating his wife's privacy, or a man desperately trying to understand why his marriage was falling apart? And where do we draw the line between privacy and the right to know the truth when our most important relationships are at stake? The story ends here, but our journey doesn't have to. If you want to join me for the next tale, please subscribe and ring that bell. Your support means everything. Thanks for watching.